Welcome everybody to Three Conservative Gimps. We've got a special show today. We are going to be talking about the Russian invasion of Ukraine and what's going on there. We've got, our regular hosts here. We've got, I'll bring them up just shortly. Let's welcome all the way from Syracuse, New York, the good Orangeman. It is Mike Roach. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, good to see you. Art. Good afternoon, everybody in the chat and everything, and glad to be here. Snowing out, and but it's normal, so all is well.
Good. It's been sunny and warm here, and by Wednesday we'll be close to 70.
Wow.
So, yep.
Yeah.
And Tuesday is caucus night here in Colorado. So I will be at Arvada West High School to caucus and find out which assembly I want to go to. I'm either going to go to the state assembly. I think that's in April. If it's like the first weekend in April, I won't be able to go because I'll be in Florida.
Right.
We have the Congressional Assembly, and then we have the County Assembly. That'll be the first one, and that'll probably be the weekend or the weekend after that, after the caucus. So let's bring in our other host, all the way from Muskogee, Oklahoma. It's the effervescent Lloyd Mendenhall. Welcome.
Hello, guys.
How you doing, sir?
I'm fine. I forgot to put my main camera on. I still had my standby logo on, so it's like, oh, okay. He must think I'm away. And I happened to look down and oh crap. So yeah. But yeah. It's giving the weather reports like you did. It's currently, I think it's in the 40s right now. And we're expected to hit like 72 by Wednesday.
Wow.
Ooh, awesome.
Yeah,
all
then
right,
drop back down again.
And bring in our special guest. He's originally from Germany, lives in Texas. He's going to give us a European perspective of what's going on over there in Europe. So let's welcome the Meisterburger of Selma, Texas. It's Kai Friedrichsen. Welcome, Kai.
Howdy, y'all.
Hi, Kai.
Hi, Kai.
Here we go.
Hey, Kai.
And since we're on the weather, it's a toasty 60 degrees here. Finally, the sun is out. Life is good again.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
This freaking freezing crap. I mean, there's a reason I live in Texas, and this freezing crap ain't it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we had ice last week, and there's still we still got snow on the ground. It hasn't warmed up enough to melt it all off yet, but most of it's ice. I got out yesterday. The roads are clear, but I had to go out to my van to get something out, and talk about slipping and sliding. Oh my God, I hate the ice, which we get a lot of in Oklahoma during the winter.
Well, we had a cold snap here in Denver for about 3 days where it didn't get above freezing until yesterday.
Wow.
So,
We hit 33 yesterday for the first time. So, but we were down in the teens for like 3 days.
Strangely enough, we were like in the 40s this past week. So the weather's all over the board.
It's all those politicians up there blowing all that hot air, causing all this global warming and climate change or whatever they want to call it. Just they'd all just shut up for a while. Maybe things would go back to normal.
Right. It's AOC.
That's it right there.
Alrighty, so let's get into the big topic.
All that. Art, if you
Do
want
what?
to put that in there. There's Texas and I ain't Texas, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
I actually have that ready lane put on the back of my truck. So we
That's
get
cool.
the geography out of the way.
There we
Sometimes
go.
I feel like we have to listen to Radio Free Texas up here in New York State, because
I was getting that way here, yeah. But
Alrighty, so
I had
let's
a
get
supervisor
to.
once that was very proud of the fact that he was from New York. And every time he'd come around, he's like, no, back in New York. And eventually I had enough of that. So I asked him, I said, exactly what part of Texas is New York in anyway? You should have seen the facial expression on him at that point.
Now I'm taking it this guy was from New York City. Was he from New York City?
I don't know which part he was from.
Because it was them down there, and then
I like to really give it.
Well, it's home.
Alrighty, so let's talk about the 800-pound gorilla in the room. We just had Russia invading the Ukraine, and so I mean, the Ukrainians are putting up a pretty valiant fight, and luckily for the Poles, they've been people from Poland, not the Poles. They've been giving the Ukrainians Javelin, their anti-tank missiles, and they've been knocking out some of those tanks. And not only that, I don't know if you guys have been hearing about this, the Ghost of Kiev, the fighter pilot who's became an ace in one day, shooting down 6 planes in one day.
Wow.
First time that's happened in the 21st century.
Yeah, I actually saw some video that they took from the ground. Some people had their cell phones or whatever. I mean, you're in the middle of war zone, this shows modern day mentality. You're in the middle of war zone. Hey, let's get it on our iPhone, But anyways, and it showed them taking out a couple of the fighters. So it was impressive.
That they also took out like a couple of transport planes too, or was that just rumor?
I don't know what all aircraft was shot down, whether it's transports or I know helicopter was shot down.
Yeah, well, this Ghost of Kiev was supposed to have taken down 5 Russian fighters. Now, there is some, it's not 100% confirmed because it's great morale booster for the people of the Ukraine. I think it actually goes back. There's another story that goes back a lot further back. I don't know, 40, 50 years ago. A fighter that did, or another Ukrainian fighter and from Kiev that's supposed to have done the same thing. So I don't know if they're just blending the stories together to make it sound good or if it actually happened. I did see a good video, a pretty decent video of them shooting down the at least one Russian fighter. I think 2 of them I saw that took down. So whether it got 5 or not, but still not bad for a little country like the Ukraine.
Propaganda to boost the morale of the folks.
Yeah. Right.
They're coming in from 3 sides. They're coming in from Belarus, Russia, and the Crimean. And this all goes back to 1994. I think it's the Minsk or the
the Minsk Accord.
Minsk Accord, where they agreed to give up their nuclear weapons and all offensive weapons.
Right.
And the Russians promised they wouldn't, attack. And we said, don't worry, we got you. Well, we got your back.
Yeah, and they were also, part of that Minsk Accord, they were also supposed to recognize the 2 or 3 independent, autonomous states inside, which
Crimea.
the Crimea and the two that are now being used as staging grounds, Donbai or whatever you call it,
Donbass region, yeah.
Donbass region, yeah, and Lamsk. I can't pronounce those names. I'm not going to pretend to, but those were supposed to have also been given autonomous independence, and they just, our government backed them, and also they agreed not to enter NATO, and that was another part of the agreement.
It was the Budapest Memorandum.
Budapest Memorandum, yeah. Well, the Russians actually went to the Ukraine on the Minsk Accords, which I think were actually later than because the Budapest Memorandum I think was
in 2014 when they
2014, and they went to the Ukraine to broker this deal, and they reached out to him, and it was agreed upon. But then, we talked a little before the show, before Kai was in here, and about some of my points of views, and I'll kind of hang back. I want to hear what Kai has to say because he's sitting back there patiently twiddling his thumbs, waiting for me to shut up. So go ahead, Kai.
Well, I'll just make you shut up. I mean, actually, Art has the power, right? Art, hit him.
Yeah, he has the power to mute me. Yes.
Well, Kai, what is the perspective of the Germans in all of this?
Well, German government finally decided to actually deliver weapons to the Ukrainians. It took them a minute to get there. The Nord Stream pipeline is not going to get commissioned, even though the blessed thing is built, but now they won't get the necessary permits to commission that thing. I've actually heard German politicians say, we shouldn't be delivering any weapons to the Ukrainians because they're going to lose anyway, and then our weapons be in Russian hands. Which, yeah. So
that's like saying.
I mean, you got to give it to the Ukrainians. For one, the president stuck around; he's still in the thick of it. And then, the other thing, the mayor of Kiev, and I'm not sure if you guys are aware of that. The mayor of Kiev is actually a boxing champion.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's the Klitschko brothers. You probably heard of Klitschko's,
right? Yeah.
Yeah,
it's one of the Klitschko brothers that's the mayor of Kiev now, and literally he could go kick Putin's ass. 10 days from Sunday.
Yeah,
that's how they should settle it.
And the Klitschko, he goes. He's like, we're going to keep everything going here. We're going to have power on. We're going to water on. We're going to keep public transportation going. He just basically start shy of saying, well, you could rise the public bus to the front if you wanted to. They're arming their citizen.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a wild card for the Russians.
Yeah.
But,
Elon Musk is, he's said he's going to open up Starlink to those folks that are in Ukraine. So they'll still have internet access.
Yeah, well, the latest stunt as of this morning is that he's activating his nuclear arsenal.
Yep. Yes.
Putin has.
Yeah.
And that puts us all on the battlefield at this point.
Right.
And, I'm sure you guys, experienced the same thing, Cold War growing up.
Yep.
Yeah. We didn't need a rerun of that.
Oh, no.
No.
But we're in the middle of it. I mean, we are smack dab middle of a Cold War.
This is actually.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead, Mike. You were going to say something.
Here's, from Kai's perspective, what do you think it was that precipitated this whole thing? American weakness, energy policy, wokeness, all the above. What do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Putin knew nobody would step up.
Right.
our leadership isn't exactly the strongest here in the States. Most of the European leadership isn't the strongest at this point. I know the German leadership surely isn't. I mean, they had a election last fall in Germany, and the Conservative Party lost. That opened up the field for the liberals and socialists to move into play, and basically three of them jumped together, socialists, green, and liberals, to form the government. So now the chancellor is socialist, the State Department Secretary of State, she's actually from the Green Party, and economy guy is from the Liberals. I mean, finance, whatever the hell that guy's called. They're not necessarily known to put their boot up somebody's butt, you know. And to me, that's the only language Putin understands.
Right.
And plus, they shut down all their nuclear power plants, or most of them, and then the ones that are still running, they're going to be shutting those down.
They are decommissioning all nuclear power plants in Germany.
Boy.
Yeah.
But Germany, I mean, has a lot of renewable energies in place. I mean, they're not just shutting it off; they have other means.
Right.
So,
but didn't they have a big problem last winter, a year ago? Of it was extremely cold winter, and a lot of their such as their fans and stuff froze up during the winter and ended up not producing power over there.
Texas.
Well, I knew it had it in Texas, but my understanding was it also happened in Germany. But you would know more because you stay in touch with people over there. So
I haven't seen that part of it.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I was talking to the guys before you came in earlier before the show. One of the things is this goes back to the fall of the Soviet Union and stuff in '92, in which that was the point where the socialist and the liberal globalists thought that suddenly we were going to have this opening up and this all holding hands singing Kumbaya and eventually becoming woke. And this is one of the last fights that Putin's really putting in to keep this globalism, this economic globalism and this liberalism out of his country. And because if, when we had Trump in office, for example, that was a conservative government, or we tried to be, although we had a lot of liberalism to deal with. So Putin didn't feel there was a problem. He wasn't aligned with Trump, and I'm not saying what Putin is doing is right. I think he's as bad because he's now would be considered, he's a nationalist, Russian nationalism. And that nationalism like that is just as bad as socialism, in my opinion. But he's trying, this isn't necessarily my opinion, but this is one opinion I've read that I respect, and that he's fighting the wokeism, And the other problem is that you had people like us sitting there saying, this whole NATO thing was part of that, like, well, we used it as our ace in the hole. I'm not going to say a trump card because that insults President Trump. But we used it as like, well, if you guys ain't careful, we're going to let them join NATO. Well, that was just, sticking the bear. That was just poking the bear.
Yeah, I mean, we can go back
with no teeth. Yeah,
we can go a couple of years back to before Trump, when Obama called Putin not a Russia's no longer a superpower.
Yeah.
Local phenomena, sort of, and that is still sitting bad was Putin. So.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, it goes back. It really started. This crap started under Obama, and then we had a little bit of a reprieve under Trump, and now we got such a spineless. Well, we got Obama 3.0 now under this spineless. He's not even a good
Right.
puppet. I got a puppet that's smarter than him, So, but this idiot in there, and just it's frustrating, being a conservative, and it's frustrating to see this,
I
Well,
also
Mike, be there. Go ahead and make that call.
Yeah, go ahead, please. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
the thing is, I wonder too. Putin, put all his, military on three sides of Ukraine and everything, and Biden's response was to almost, I think, part of it. Would Putin have invaded, or was he backed into a corner by Biden's tough talk? In a certain sense, you know what I'm saying? Like Biden's like, if he does that, I'm going to do this, and so then Putin can't back down because he looks like a chump because of backing down, and he's not that type. So I'm just curious, what you guys might think of, like if in Biden's what's he going to do? Nothing. We haven't gotten close. I just wonder if that's part of it. Or did Putin just want concessions of some sort?
Well, was as much time as the Bidens have spent in the Ukraine, I'm beginning to wonder what kind of dirt do they have on those guys.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
that's a straight tinfoil hat kind of thinking, but.
Well, we're at the point that the tinfoil hats are no longer a reality. I mean, we're what used to be considered tinfoil hat thinking is what's turning out to be real. And Mickey McH says he had this planned since the first presidency when he made it clear what he thought of the Budapest memorandum and the Ukraine he first got in office, and then. When the wall fell, first things, don't trust Russia. I never have, but you got to look at where were we coming from when this all happened. Under Ronald Reagan, it was a good thing, we had somebody there but the wall fell at the end of his presidency. And then what did we have coming next? We had, George H.W., who was not the strongest. He wasn't the strongest nail in the box, and then we got Clinton right after that, who I hate to admit makes Obama and Biden look like he looks like a true conservative compared to Obama and Biden. I mean, that's sad to say, but and not his wife. I'm talking
plus
about.
He went into Yugoslavia to help out the Muslims that were being persecuted.
Yeah. That was this has been coming for
it's been coming
30
along
years or more.
Quite a while.
You
20, 30 years. The Germans messed up by shutting off their nuclear power plants. This all started right after the Fukushima accident. That's what precipitated all the European countries.
They've been talking about getting out of nuclear power since the 80s. I mean, that was even before Chernobyl.
Yeah.
That whole movement started. But you want to talk about what we were doing during the Cold War? That's me during the Cold War right there. See that fella standing there in the middle of that gate?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yours truly.
Oh, wow.
No, geez, yeah.
Okay.
You wanna have a good laugh? Or wanna
Sure.
be impressed? Same gate over the years. Let's see here. Same compound, same gate. See that soldier right there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When the U.S. forces took it over, to decapitate him and close that and box that in and filled it up with concrete.
Wow.
That's the same gate a few years earlier. Let's see. There's the same compound.
Oh.
That's the same building in the background.
Now, is that the Brandenburg Gate? Okay.
There, that'll make you think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. What gate is that, Kai?
That's the main gate to what was called Andrews Barracks when the Americans had it.
Okay.
Right.
Oh,
It's an old. It was originally here's one original pictures. It was originally a Prussian. It was the Prussian West Point.
Okay.
Prussian school.
Well, what branch of the service were you in?
Well, I was working for the U.S. Army in Berlin.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. If you look at these pictures here at the gate, at these columns, you can actually see a line. Let me make those a little bigger. See how there's a line right there?
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's a line down here at the bottom.
Right. Right.
That's where they just cased in the soldier and filled it up with concrete.
Yeah.
It's the same post, it's the same gate.
Yeah. Yeah. You can see it. Yeah. You can see the outline where they just filled in over it. Yeah. Wow.
When they put in that guard shack that's seen on the picture with me, behind the spy enclosure, they were pounding in I-beams for footing, and the machine was pounding, and all of a sudden, the freaking beam disappears, and the machine almost went right after it. They had Hitler had everything tunneled under Berlin. Yeah, they just found another tunnel they didn't know of.
Another tunnel? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What you can see in this picture, it'd be off to the right, there's a big swimming pool, and that was actually used during the 36 Olympics.
Oh. Okay. Yeah.
So those tunnels underground, were those World War II tunnels, or were those like catacombs?
World War II tunnels.
Okay.
I mean, they're still using those tunnels. They have a system in Germany for heat where they actually have a steam plant and they just pipe the steam out to the apartment houses.
Yeah.
And they use those tunnels to run the steam pipes out. And other utility lines. No, phone lines.
Well, you got to remember, that was East Germany for a long time.
Nope.
So
that was West Berlin. That's always been West Berlin.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
but Berlin was in East Germany. That was the weirdest thing. It's West Berlin, which we had control of, but then the rest of the surrounding area was East Germany. I guess they flew.
We'll do a little history lesson. So after World War II, Germany got divvied up to 4 parts.
Right.
The French, the British, the American, and the Russian.
Russians, yeah.
Same was Berlin. Berlin was divvied up in 4 pieces.
Right.
The French, the British, the American, and the Russian sector. The Russian sector and the Russian part of Germany turned out to be East Germany. And the West Germany was a combination of the French, the British, and American sectors, as was West Berlin.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's well, we're back in what seems to be almost cold, real Cold War era stance now.
Yeah, we're not almost. We are there. We're square in the middle of it.
Right.
Yeah. When I got a thing the other day, and it was from an IT service. Anyways, I get these emails with either military updates or stuff, and this was talking about that they're right now, and they were recommending we do the same, or I do the same because of this, but they're working at trying to secure our infrastructure technology wise, our IT infrastructure, because they are expecting a massive cyber attack within the next couple of weeks coming in from the Soviets or from the Russians. Yeah, they're always going to be the Soviets to me. I grew up, I served during the Cold War too. I was like, they'll always be the Soviets to me. It's just my.
Yeah. Well, I was in Berlin from 89 to 92. I worked for the Provost Marshal's office. Technically, I was civilian employee.
Right.
But I was wearing U.S. Army uniform, rank, and weapons. And was part of the Berlin Brigade. Our unit was part of the Berlin Brigade, 69 41st Guard Battalion. And I actually lived in American barracks. That picture I just showed you, that was the front door, basically, because I lived in the building to the left of that, and we were completely tied in. Yeah, they make uniforms that big. But 89, the wall came down. We were in the middle of all that mess.
Wow.
And trust me, when Desert Storm River Shield hit, we were told our life expectancy was about 17 seconds at that point.
Really? Wow.
Well, when Desert Shield hit, nobody knew how the Russians were going to act. What the Russians were going to do. Now, nobody knew what side the Russians were on. The Russians didn't say much about anything. Besides, they hadn't paid their troops in a while, so they pretty much did whatever the hell they wanted to do at that point.
Right.
I know of stories where guys bought tanks to put in their backyard for yard art. And I'm not talking demilitarized tanks. I mean fully functioning tanks. That has happened. I mean, a lot of shit that happened back then never made it to the present. That's a good thing.
Oh yeah, I'd probably scared the hell out of a lot of people. I mean, and you said it. We're in the middle of the Cold War again, and this to me, I'm feeling, because I remember the Cuban Missile Crisis, and this is reminding me so much of that right now.
Yeah.
I really, because that was a weird thing to even though I was younger, I was pretty young when the Cuban Missile. I was old enough to sit in front of the TV and watch that, and hear my parents talk about it, and remember talking about. I was at that point in life where I understood what was going on, and of course, my older brother and sister were coming home talking about the drills they were doing at school, and so it was what was that, 1963, 64? No, the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Oh yeah, you're right. It was 63.
63, yeah, 63, yeah. And I remember that. Actually, I remember. When was that? What month was that?
Oh, that would be, was it September, October?
Yeah, that it was. That's what I'm thinking. It was just before Kennedy was assassinated. It's like he did, he stopped the blockade, he put in the blockade, and then he was
it was 1962.
62. That's what I was thinking.
October
of 62. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And because I was thinking in 63 I was already in school, but I was in school in 62 as well, come to think of it. And I remember we thought it was a game, as because kindergarten, first, second, third grade, we didn't think about stuff like that. But I had an older brother and sister that came home talking about it and talking about the drills they did, and it was. This reminds me of that, It really does.
Yeah,
it's.
And the Cold War, of course, wasn't completely cold. There was the Korean
Nazi wars around the world.
Yeah, the Vietnamese War, and supporting Cuba,
Angola.
And stuff. And we've had relative peace since then, other than Middle Eastern stuff. And now we've got, for the first time in a long time a major land battle happening in Europe again, where I've got people who around me who are younger. They don't remember even the fall of the Berlin Wall or anything.
Right.
Watching the medians, and they're thinking of me as older, knowledgeable guy. I know a little bit, but it's like asking. They're getting scared and thinking that this could blow up, not literally on us, and plus it's hitting us in possibly militarily, but energy wise, just and then we got China coming up. Whatever's going to happen there, they're watching, and that could be any month now that they pull something. You never know.
Yeah, they're looking at Taiwan right now, and the stupidest thing that I've heard about in the last week. I mean, not that everything it seems to be coming out of Washington right now is stupid, but or at least out of the White House. But they went to China with we had intelligence on the troop movements of the Russians, and they took it to China and asked the Chinese could they have some influence on Russia to tell them to back off. And instead, and at the same time, China and Russia were working at building a coalition themselves. And so China just turns all of our intelligence over and says, oh, by the way, here's what the United States has on you. Here you go. Here's some extra information. Like, what the hell? Is this friggin' idiot in the White House and the State Department or whoever's running this circus up there is doing,
Well, there's an organization called the Brennan Group or some crap like that, some left wing nut job think tank. They also said we no longer can have this anti-CCP sentiment in this country, and DOJ had to discontinue their counter-CCP program because we're not just relying on Chinese goods, meaning Walmart won't have any inventory.
Right.
Or we are also discriminating against Asian Americans, and we need these Chinese scientists to keep our country competitive.
Yep.
So
they steal all our patents.
I mean, it's no secret. You'd send anything to China for manufacturing, they're gonna steal your design.
Yeah,
right.
I'll work in the design world. I've actually done some designs, for other people. One of them was, those barn lights that you have. Was the big high power mercury light bulbs in them?
Right.
Yeah, we came up with a kit to retrofit those things was LED. And they guys like, oh, we're going to send it to China for prototyping. I'm like, you sent this to China for prototyping, they'll be on the market with it before you ever will.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're like, huh? I'm like, yeah, no, the prototypes you're going to have to make here in the States, and then you need to be careful what you get manufactured over there.
Yeah, our all of that comes down to it's our, it's one our wages that we pay people. We're paying $15 an hour for minimum wage now, and all right, cost of living's gone up, but that has nothing to do with, for example, here, Georgia Pacific Paper Company is here in Muskogee. And, basically they make napkins and butt wipe paper. And those guys are getting starting wages at $25, $26 an hour. And yet our law enforcement, they're lucky to be getting $18 an hour. Now, there's something wrong with that. And they can earn up to $36 to $40 an hour out there making butt wipe paper if it's on the right holiday during the right week in which they're getting triple time and holiday time on top of triple time. It's like, okay, that's why my toilet paper's so damned expensive, because we're paying these guys, way too much money for this job. I mean,
right. That whole minimum wage discussion is just, No, you're not supposed to support a family on minimum wage. Your starting point. And
but we have such a our yeah. I'm going to lose it here in a minute.
well, one thing too, we in the West.
What are you going to lose? Your mind or control your bodily function? I mean,
yeah, probably all of it. I'll probably lose my mind. I'm going to lose my temper because it's just so friggin' frustrating. That we don't manufacture hardly anything here in the United States. And this is why we're bringing it. We don't have anything to push kids to go into something. We don't support trade schools like we should. Right. We don't teach people. Don't. When was the last time anybody the old journeyman and apprentice programs that you used to, when I was in high school, I had to work as an apprentice to a journeyman to learn how to insulate. And believe it or not, insulating, there's more, commercial insulation, like in, high pressure steam and cold chill pipes. There's a lot to that. And
I know a lot about it.
I knew you would, but there's more to that than meets the eye, and they just don't want. I was, of course, mind you, it was union, and that was the only time I did not belong to a union, but I still had to pay the friggin' union because in order to get to work, it was a union job, so I had to pay as a non-union worker. I had to pay so much out of my paycheck every month, diesel mechanics like Chris Wedgeworth, and it's just, but there is a lot there that they don't have those programs anymore where you work as a journeyman or work as an apprentice to eventually, test out and become a journeyman, whatever. We don't do that, and which means we're losing our young people to their cell phones and their video games. They're getting carpal tunnel from texting. That's just friggin' ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, we've had it,
they also have a degree in liberal arts, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Right, all that stuff of, you've got to go to college. You've got to go to college. Get $60,000 in debt, and all this stuff.
You want to have some entertainment. Go back to college as a 40-year-old. It's kind of happened to me.
I can't afford it.
No, it happened to me because I had a back injury and I had to go. They sent me to community college for 2 years.
Yeah,
get my degrees in cat design, and at that point I was out of high school for 25 years, and let me tell you, it is scary. I mean, there was one chick running around campus. She had a damn tail tagged to the back of her pants. You would see her every day. I mean, it didn't matter what she was wearing. She had that freaking tail tacked to the back of her. I mean, what the hell?
Well, we've become dislodged in America and in the West in general, and had it so relatively easy and prosperous, where we've had all these, this free time and money and energy to spend on all these artsy type of endeavors and feel goodism and all this stuff, while over in Russia and in those countries that have been behind the Iron Curtain and everything, they're a little tougher. I would wonder if we were getting invaded, which we are on our southern border. It's like, would Americans pick up M16s the way the Ukrainians are picking up AKs, and go into urban warfare, or would we just roll over? We've gotten awfully soft. And
how are you gonna go to urban warfare with hardly anybody training it anymore?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's going to be old farts.
We just got through pussifying our military with stress cards and what have you. Okay.
Yeah, I know. It's
a guy that enlists these days will never know the joys of a good boot shine.
Yeah.
You know, we don't they don't do that sort of stuff anymore. And you know, I don't know if a shiny boot is going to be a solution to a crisis like this, but
Well, and this is something I remember from boot camp and going through all that. You know, the first thing they did is they shave off all your hair, at least the men. The women they didn't, but they shave off all your hair. They take away your whatever clothes you came in. And mind you, this was in the 70s, so we had some wild clothes that we showed up in. We had hair. Some of us had hair down here. I was smart. I had my father-in-law shave my head, so they only had to take about this much off my hair. They did it just because I still had to pay, because the idea was to make everybody uniform, everybody alike. You know, we were all going to get sunburned ears together. We were all going to, you know, we all wore the same slick sleeve green uniform. We're a bunch of bald-headed green men. We all looked alike in that respect. That made us, we could, you know, of course we had idiots that we could call idiots. And we had a guy just almost as big as Kai, who was a former basketball player. Most frightening thing I ever saw is he was a sleepwalker, and I was on dorm guard that night, or barracks guard that night, and I heard a noise upstairs, and I go upstairs, and here's this guy holding up the ceiling in his sleep. Now, mind you, the ceiling wasn't falling, but we're talking, this guy, he touched our ceiling like this, you know, it was just like, that's all the further he had to go. Of course, they're old World War II barracks, but, you know, it was... But we did that, and then we were taught to make a bed a certain way. We polished our boots for a reason. And this is what I took, the one thing I remember the most. Imposed discipline brings self-discipline.
Right. And cohesion, too.
Yeah, and the splitting up. Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, I do. I certainly do. Yep. I do remember those.
That's the same one that's in that picture.
Right.
Hey, Steve. Good to see you.
Hey, Steve.
But my granddaughter here, probably about 8 or 9 years ago now, she was dating one guy that was, she was dating one guy, and the other one was his friend, and they were home on leave. They just gotten out of basic, and they were getting ready to go off to their AIT, yeah. And I started, because I was in the Air Force, I almost called it tech school, but it's AIT. And here was the deal. And this is when I knew we were in real trouble. The one guy, he was in one platoon, the other guy was in another platoon. Now, the one guy, which was the one my granddaughter was dating, he got to have his cell phone every night because they did his psychological exam and knew that he was going to need to keep touch with his mother and his family, because the other guy, he only got his cell phone, you know, on the weekends so that he could keep in touch. But this guy was so, you know, it was such a friggin' wimp that he had to call mommy every night before he could go to bed. So and they actually classified him, put these people in different positions, you know, in their platoons based on what their personality profile showed. That, well, okay, he's got to call mommy, you know. Like, oh my God, I remember what it was like when we went the first 2 weeks, we couldn't call home, or the first 3 weeks, we couldn't call home, we couldn't do nothing. And then when we did, we went down and we stood in line at the friggin' payphones and waited our turn, and we got 3 minutes to make that call. Mm-hmm. That included from the time you picked up the phone, trying to get the operator to make a collect call back to, because they didn't have calling cards back then. So you had to either drop a bunch of coin, or you had to make a collect call and hope that if you were smart, you'd written a letter say, hey.
I didn't know they already had phones when you were in the service.
Well, they were the old crank types, you know. They were the old crank types, because in the Air Force, we were still flying soft with camels, but you know. Fight me.
Well, I mean, how does it work? I mean, the Wright brothers flew in the early 1900s, so that's well after your time.
Thanks, Kai. Yeah.
I mean, guess what it's like to serve under Washington, and and how grumpy he got when he got splinters from his dentures and up his.
Yeah, we had that discussion the other day, didn't we? Yeah.
And they were all shooting brown bests.
Yeah. Well, them things kick like a mule too. Let me tell you.
All right. Well, we got to satisfy Brian there. So today's stream's been renamed to the Kai and the Three Dwarfs.
Oh, obviously I'm grumpy.
That goes
That
without
makes-
saying.
Yeah. Does that make you dopey
I'm
or happy? You're happy. Well, I guess you got. Which one?
I'm just interested in Snow White myself, you know.
Yeah, really.
I didn't know the perv was the dwarfs, but okay.
That was the 8th dwarf. You know.
Speaking of Snow White, have you seen that Snow White is being recast as a? Well, we talked about it a couple weeks on the show. There's a Latino gal being recast as Snow White, and of course, they think it would be one small person.
Is it a gal or is it a repiked gal?
I don't know, and I didn't bother. Yeah, I just saw but one of the little people has spoke out and said that they, calling the dwarfs. They should have
was Peter Dinklage.
Yeah, Peter Dinklage. Yeah, he says, "How dare Disney cast dwarves to play the dwarves?"
And that's playing
racist.
Cyrano de Bergerac.
Well, at least his nose is going to be. At least his nose is going to be long. We're going to go off the rail.
This is going downhill fast.
It is. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's Kai's fault.
But I mean, that whole thing of Snow White being not a white person, and you can't use real little people or whatever the proper word is to play the characters. And I'm surprised they're even doing a Snow White. Other must be still profitable.
Well, at least she's got black hair.
Right.
Yeah.
God forbid to be a blonde, but it's it's like we've that's the kind of thing we've been focusing on now for 20, 30 years in this country, instead of making men and women and being tough in the military. So this college campus BS.
Right. Well,
we actually took a group picture before we start the stream today. Here you go.
Oh my God. Yeah. That would be about right.
Heard of midget wrestling?
Oh yeah. Yep. Matter of fact, when I first started watching Ken Herron, he was doing the voice for midget wrestling there in Tennessee. He was the ringside announcer.
That's right.
I don't know if he still does it. I don't think he does now, but he was doing it. He did it for at least the first couple of years I started watching him. So, but yeah, going back to what Kai said about the wussification of
you know that midget.
Who is that?
It's some rock star.
It's
You're huge, or that guy is small. I can't tell.
Oh, Jesse James.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but he was married to
Sandra Bullock.
Sandra Bullock. What kind of idiot cheats on Sandra Bullock? I mean, that's just not bright. That was just, he had the perfect, and he, of course, I'm a Bullock fan.
I actually lived in a neighborhood next to her where she lived.
Right.
And, to get to her, you kind of had to get through ours kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
So, I saw a few of his rat rots coming through.
Yeah.
They still had kids together, so.
Yeah. But
in the evening after work, I'm on my way home, and I see this guy running on the side of the road, and I'm like, he looks familiar. About an hour later, at home with TV on, and there's a commercial for Matthew McConaughey's latest movie. I'm like, hey, I just saw him run down the side of the road.
Yeah.
He kind of pissed me off, though.
Oh?
Yeah, we all start our YouTube channels, and now we're trying to scrape by to get subscribers.
Right.
That guy started a YouTube channel. Within a week, he was at 600,000 subscribers.
Yeah, it is. That kind of stuff pisses me off, too. I just don't know what the problem is. I mean, why am I not at 600,000? I mean, I'm such a likable guy, and I'm so multi-talented, I mean, I should be up there.
Especially when you're off air.
Yeah. That's when I get the most viewership, is when nothing's running. Yeah, I know.
Hey, Art, bump me out a second. I'll be right back, okay?
Alrighty.
Well, Kai, you were talking about the pussification of our military. There's actually a video out that NATO put out. It says, "We are NATO," and it's this all-inclusive blah, blah, blah. And there's an admiral on, and this pissed me off really bad. There's an admiral on there in full uniform. He's it's an American, and he's in full uniform, and he's got a friggin' dog tag with the rainbow on it. Now, that's a violation of his uniform code. He should not be wearing that. And then to do that, mind you, he was doing it for NATO. I don't care which way the wind blows for him or what blows his skirt up or anything like that. But good God, that's just, a violation of the UCMJ, which I don't. Well, no, it's a violation of military code, and that's what pisses me off. I said, Lloyd, do better if you'd wear one of those push-ups. Fight me.
Only if you wear that push-up thingy.
Yeah. I'm not going there. Oh, God. Why am I getting harassed by the audience now? I knew I was going to get harassed by him because I keep spelling his name wrong. Even though I said I would never forget, and I turned around and 3 hours later I did it. It's like, oh, my God. Sorry, Kai, by the way.
No, that wasn't you. Who was it?
I was on Rodney's show, I think. Rodney Bell's show.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
But no, there was somebody else, and he misspelled my name. And then I told you.
Steve Carpenter. Yeah. Steve Carpenter. Steve Carpenter, who's in the chat. Yeah.
Steve misspelled it, and that's why I told you need to have a little chat with Steve how to spell my name.
Yeah, exactly. And then I turned around and misspelled it in later that evening. Yep. Yeah, I know. It just, I don't know. It just write it down. Biden does. I need to keep a pen here in my on my desk so I can write stuff down. So, but
when can you write? Wait a minute. When did that happen?
I can only do short words, and fortunately, your name is short, so I can just. Actually, I can do it right here in the dust on my desk. So there we go. I've got it written in the dust on my desk. So
I thought when you went to school, they still handed out chisels and hammers.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I can still write in ancient cuniform. I can, which is what we used on this ancient Greek. I did learn some ancient Greek, and
back in his days, they were still using Roman numerals.
Yeah.
I don't want to know about his ancient numeral at this point, okay? Let's not go there.
I don't know why everybody.
It's ancient. We'll just leave it at that. We don't need no numerals on it.
Okay.
Guild and action.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, it's a messed up world we're in, and it's been, throughout human history, it's been messed up, but it's messed up again. Someone got in there and stirred it up.
Well,
we don't have any leader.
This latest stunts catapults us right back in the freaking Cold War times. That's just
yeah. Yeah, because we're looking at it. What's I think that the worst part of it right now is we're looking at a Chinese-Russian coalition going on, and
and Iran's in that too.
oh yeah, we're
The axis of evil.
I mean, the severity of this, we're not sure of how severe it is yet, but
right.
If you heard anything of his speech that Putin gave the day off the invasion, and his rant about bringing back the USSR and how the Russian people want to bring the Soviet Union back, I think that guy is full of crap.
Oh
Ain't nobody in Russia or any other former Soviet Union states want to go back to stand in line for freaking groceries for hours on end.
Yeah.
To empty shelves, to not have anything. I mean, the black market were rampant over there. The only thing people got anything accomplished was by bartering. I mean, there was a ginormous black market where people would swap shit that one guy needed wallpaper and the other one needed plaster, and they swapped. It's just, and you can't tell me that anybody wants to go back to that crap,
right? Or at least those who can remember it, because it's been a while now. 30 years since the fall of the wall. But Putin, who knows? Reading him is tough.
Their propaganda machine is such as that. I mean, they're interviewing people on the ground, and they're saying it's the Americans' fault because this is all because of Americans. Freaking Putin's calling the Ukrainian government Nazis and drug addicts, and
Zelensky is Jewish.
Yeah, it's.
Well, we got Canadians up there calling each other Nazis now too. So I mean, everything has gone nuts.
Well, and this is
Joy Behar of The View. She's all upset she can't go to Italy.
Yeah.
Well, just to get back to the Canadian guy, when Trudeau called that representative a Nazi, she was actually a freaking grandchild to a
Holocaust survivor. Yeah.
And him playing that off the way he did, I mean, that guy needs to be strung up by balls.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's only one problem with that. He doesn't have any.
Well, he got enough here. So.
Yeah. But, this comes from, and this is another thing, we're all looking at, because we remember the Cold War, but we're getting in the, we're starting to reach those
years
areas where we're all we can all be members of AARP now. Well, Kai, I don't know if you're over 55 you can, so you're probably getting close to it, but
I've still got a ways to go to that.
Still got a ways to go. Okay. Well, you get but still we remember that stuff, and of course, Kai, you lived in that part of the world during the
and how many decades have you been with the AARP now?
You better not be with AARP. You better be an AMAC
I'm not.
guy.
I actually did join AARP, but that was like 20 years ago.
Well, see.
But then I dropped them, after the first year.
Well, they'll let
the second year
join now. I mean, they just want money.
Yeah. Well, I was
I'm
retired,
a member of
so
AMAC.
Yeah. I'm not a member of any of them because my money goes into my pocket, not into any.
Right.
I don't even belong to the NRA anymore because I just, I belong to them on and off over the years. I agree with a lot of what they do. A lot of their stuff is they're spending more money sending me mailers trying to get me to rejoin and free stickers than they are doing actually what I think they should be doing, and that's training people on how to. When I first joined them, they were teaching young people, and they were sponsoring a lot more shooting activities than they do now. Now all the money goes to legislative, which I understand they've got to do that, and that's what they're good at. But
Well, sorry, I've got a NRA and what freaking Wounded Warrior Project. They all have overinflated overhead costs. Sorry.
Way
Oh,
over.
I understand that. I understand that. No, I know they've got overhead costs,
But
but
That busted an organization here in San Antonio. That was the Texas Troopers Association or something like that.
yeah, yeah,
All around to collect money for the Troopers Association.
yep.
So I found out that only, they were kicking bare minimum back to troopers, and most
I know,
of it
I know.
overinflated rent and
And then they call you donate to them one time and then they call you for 10 years,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
twice a year, and it's like, I
All
tell them
those
take.
Well, I
organizations-
mean, you are happy about that because somebody wants to talk to you.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
all those
Yeah, at least he's
organizations,
not
though,
lonely.
like the Wounded Warriors. I mean, great concept, or like the Shriners Hospital. All those ones you see advertising on the conservative news channels. Their overhead is like 80%.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's a very, I understand why they have to keep paying for advertisement and stuff, but
Well, I mean, Shriners Hospital, I wouldn't lump in the same.
Yeah,
because-
'cause
Yeah.
I'm a patient of Shriner.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
there
well-
are hospitals to exist. The hospitals to run, and the hospitals to treat people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 And the patient's family doesn't have to pay for
Yeah.
it.
right.
Yep.
One of the dog trainers I worked with, her son, well, poor kid was born with car door ears. And I mean, we're talking, he could have qualified to be in the remake of Dumbo. I mean, they were that bad. And they contacted her. A member, one of the Shriners here in town saw her and says, because she worked at Petco and she had her son there, and said, let me call somebody. And it was a few days later, they called her up and says, we understand he needs surgery to have that corrected. And she says, well, I can't afford it. And they said, that's fine. Says, and they flew her down there, did the surgery, corrected it, and has redone any, because of his growth, they've had to go in there sometimes and detach and reconnect, but they corrected all that, and you can't tell it now. But I saw pictures of him when he was young. That poor kid, I mean, he could have flown with those ears.
Yep.
And
Same with
they went
Obama.
in. Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. But the Shriners paid for that.
I'm still trying to figure out the sport now, the dog training. The rest of us went to high school. You went to dog training? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, that explains it.
that's a lot of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Now, it's
they're
when
the
I
ones they used up the rolled up newspaper and said,
Yeah,
down,
and that's
down,
how
down.
that's how Judy housebroke me.
Yeah.
She sent me to dog training school. Yeah.
All those organizations do
Being
good.
in
but
school
the
dropout.
overhead is
That
incredible.
explains it.
That's it right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's we've gone way off topic, but we got we got a lot covered too. But this, I think the gist of it is this Ukraine thing. No matter what side you're on, and I think a lot of it has to do with we don't have people that have studied history. They don't understand history because we no longer teach it. We teach this revisionist bull crap.
We're eliminating history where we can.
Yeah.
Or they're
Tearing down-
rewriting it.
Right.
Yeah.
Revisionist history.
Rewriting it, teaching kids to hate America. I mean, country that hates itself isn't going to survive.
Yeah.
In Texas, they were going to rewrite the history books and no longer call the defenders of the Alamo heroes because that might offend the Mexican kids.
The Mexican kids, yeah. What they don't, what they're not teaching in schools today, and is how many of the Mexicans fought in that war for independence from Mexico. There's a lot of the that were Texicans, the Tejanos down there that fought against and defended. They don't mention that. So it's all about I mean, it wasn't just
They narrowed it down to 3 names, and
Davy Crockett, Jim Bowie, and
Sam Houston.
Captain Travis. Yeah. Those are the only 3 that are important, but they forget to mention all of the. That's because we don't teach history. We don't teach the history.
Right.
No, they're just busy rewriting the books so they can sell more books to the school districts.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's it too. Yeah, because I mean,
you mean the Howard Zinn book?
Yeah.
And plus,
It's just
is always seems to keep repeating itself. We go through these incredible, difficult things, world wars, etc., and then we get soft again. We forget what the problem was, get war weary, and let our guard down, and here we go again. And
well, this is almost like coming out of the, we just came out of the pandemic, which is just like the Great Depression. It's this generation's version of the Great Depression, and now we got this nationalist socialist person over there in Russia that is doing the same thing that another nationalist socialist person did in Germany, and now he's doing his rolling through Poland. He's rolling through the Ukraine. I mean, this is a repeat of what happened in 1939 or 1930 to 39 and 40 to we're seeing it again.
Right. Neville Chamberlain's in the White House.
Yeah, Neville Chamberlain's in the White House, exactly.
And he's not going to stop at Ukraine. He's eyeing the Baltic countries that were part of the former Soviet Union. Even Finland is shaking in their boots right now because if you don't remember, Finland was once part of Russia prior to World War One. After World War One, they became independent, just like the Ukraine, for a brief period of time, and then the Soviets absorbed them.
I don't know. You guys still remember the guy that jumped in an airplane and landed his little prop job on the Red Square?
Oh, yes, I remember that. Yeah.
I do remember that. Yeah.
What year was it?
That was back in the 70s, I believe.
No, it was in the 80s. It wasn't in the 80s, but...
Was it in the 80s? Yeah, I thought it was. Okay. Yeah, it was in the 80s.
Okay.
But yeah, he started out in Sweden or Finland. I think that he started in Finland with it.
I think he did too. Yeah.
He was German. He flew that thing, Denmark, Sweden, over to Finland, and then all the way down, landed on the Red Square.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. That was yeah. You're right.
Yeah, that was 30 years ago. 1987.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a Cessna 172R. Wow.
Okay.
And the pilot was Capper Matthias Russ. Yeah.
Matthias Russ. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. That's what I mean. Well, Mickey puts up there, he says, unfortunately, some people are not capable of learning from history. Defund the police nut jobs are proof of that. You're right, Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's...
And plus, Lloyd, talking about coming out of the pandemic, I don't trust that right now, politically. It's
politically,
and after November,
they're going to go right.
It's a mirage, maybe.
Well, yeah, they saw the polls. They saw the polls, and they changed. California saw the polls, and Newsom saw the polls, and they don't want to lose those seats, and they know they're going to, and hopefully the American people aren't so short-memoried that they forget that, this pandemic went for 2 years, not just one, but, it's 2020 and 2021, and it's still going on in some areas. I mean, they're still treating it like it's still going on, and let's hope the American people don't, just, and I think this is where the Democrats may be short-sighted, I'm hoping. They're thinking, well, if we lift the mandates, well, that's okay. We'll make it easy. Everybody will love us and we'll be reelected. Right. But there's a lot of other crap going on, like parents' rights to, dealing with the school boards, parents' rights to how their kids are educated, and, the whole critical race theory crap, and all of that stuff is going on. So hopefully they're not, and they're not smart enough. But I will say one thing, we are losing one of our senators in December, Senator Jim Inhofe, who has been classified as a rhino. So my own current congressman here, Mark Wayne Mullins, has thrown his hat in the ring for that Senate seat. So if he runs and gets that job, then we're going to have another election, because why Inhofe isn't resigning before the election, I don't know. I've yet to see why he's resigning, other than he's just getting old. But he's sort of a just slightly right of center. He's more of a liberal than he is
Right.
But so we've got actually this year we'll have 2 senators up for re-election. We have one that's resigning, and the other one, and that may be why they want to stagger them, to keep them staggered. But
yeah. Well, and that whoever wins that special election, they'll only hold that seat for what, two
no, they'll hold it. They'll hold it until the end of his term, and if he resigns in December. Yeah, it'd only be 2 years, because he would be up for re-election. Yeah. And I think that's the reason.
At, Warnick down in Georgia. He only his term is already up this year. He's only been in office for 1 year because that senator passed away.
Right,
and,
right. Yeah.
Well, guys, we've done over an hour. Almost an hour and 20 minutes. Boy, we really covered a lot of ground. And I want to thank everybody in the chat. Thanks for coming. You have a great weekend, and we'll see you next month. Take care. God bless.
Hold on. Before you hang up here, let's take a minute and think of our old service members. They're going to have to deal with this whole fucking mess now. And
yes, absolutely. Thanks. Absolutely. Keep them in your prayers, guys, because they're going to need it right now. They're going to need it.
Right.
Thanks for being here, Mike. Thanks as always, and Lloyd. Great show, guys. We'll catch you next time.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Later, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.